Welcome back. We're here to preview Saturday afternoon's Premier League game between Newcastle and West Brom. Matt, we've got to start with Newcastle. 8 defeats in a row. That's just the second time in the club's history that's happened. Last time out against Leicester. So disappointing. What's going wrong at the moment?
It's difficult to put your finger on, isn't it? It's just been absolutely horror. Like you say, eight defeats in a row, and they're lucky that Pardew did so well with the first half of the season, because it's been an absolute stinker. The game itself, it's all about Leicester winning the game. I don't think many people were that surprised, were they, that they took all 3 points. And to go 1-0 down in the first minute, wasn't it, from Carver, talk about not being able to defend set pieces, and Joa gets a good header. Don't get me wrong, it was a good header, but to concede that early in the game is just horrendous defending. And like I say, the game itself, obviously got 2 players sent off as well, and it just seems to all go wrong from the goals itself. Like, Leicester played well, they had a penalty, Joa, but there's more poor defending in there. Wes Morgan, couldn't defend a set piece again. It's been the story that's been so bad marking wise. There's no real leadership back there at the moment, which is the main problem. Like I say, finishing with 9 men, getting beat 3-0 away from home is always terrible. But the context it was in, the fact that they've lost 8 in a row now, and it all seems to go wrong. And you feel sorry for the supporters, because they've got good fans up there. Do stick with them, travel down in their numbers for the Leicester game, but just cannot seem to buy a result at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously you look at the league table where it leads in the 15th in the table, just 2 points above the bottom 3, and they're sort of one of 5 teams, separated by 2 points. You look at Burnley and Leicester, they're probably going to go down, aren't they? But it's 2 points separating the 5 teams. Some of them have got a game in hand as well. So the way Newcastle are going, you probably say they're arguably favourites to go down, which, considering, like you say, where they were, but 8 defeats in a row is terrible for them. But you mentioned the 2 players getting sent off there. There was the incident after the game. John Carver, caretaker manager, he says he wonders if the players are getting sent off deliberately so they don't have to play under the pressure that Newcastle are under at the moment. Very bizarre situation. Mike Williamson then releases a statement. One of the players, he's obviously got the 2-game ban because it was his second red card. Janmaat's just banned for 1 game, but Williamson comes out and says, it's no truth in this at all. I'd never do that. But you wonder what he was doing. Vardy's off the pitch, absolutely wipes him out. I mean, when I first watched it, I thought maybe he could have got a straight red card for that, but I was astounded that he'd made that challenge when he was already on a yellow. You wonder what's going through his mind there. Certainly a lot of things going wrong with the club, but they had crisis talks with John Carver. They've vowed to stand by him. You wonder, you think, should Carver maybe resign? There's talk about him resigning, but he said he won't resign. But then the reports came out that they were chasing Steve McLaren, the Derby County manager. I think they were trying to get McLaren to come in and manage the final 3 games of the season, because obviously Derby's season didn't finish well at all. They missed out on the playoffs, quite calamitous circumstances really. But it looks like Derby, McLaren's, he said, he's already looking forward to next season with them. So it doesn't look like he'll be going, and he was supposed to be their number 1 target this summer, because on the whole he's done a pretty good job with Derby since coming back to England. So who are they going to go for? There's talk about De Boer over in Holland, but they're certainly, even if they stay up, if they go down, they're definitely not going to keep Carver. But even if they stay up, they won't keep him, because I think he's had the worst. They've been the worst team in the league since he took over. So there's no way they're going to keep him. But certainly a very, very bad situation at the moment, and in real danger of going down.
I think interesting mention manager-wise, I think Paco Gémez, Rayo Vallecano in Spain, has been mentioned as well. He's obviously at a club where there's no real budget, but he's done wonders there, so you think maybe he might be able to go in there. But it's about what they've got left. They play obviously West Brom at home here, then they play QPR away, and QPR might be down at that stage, but still, they'll be keen to get back to winning ways, and West Ham at home the last game of the season. So when you talk about games, I think it really matters who they're playing at the moment, because they just can't seem to pick up a win from anywhere. And obviously, to mention Carver, then the thing came out about Colaccini, club captain. He's going to stay club captain for the remainder of the season. He's released a letter, which was basically just someone apologising for the performances. And I think it's okay to talk like that, but I don't think the fans want to see it on the field, don't they? It's all right saying, oh, we're sorry, we're embarrassed by the results, but if you're not getting results and you're getting hammered every week, which they have been, and you mentioned where they're on the table, and it is quite incredible to slip down the table. And if they did go down, obviously they've been down in the Championship in recent history, and a club of that size, who under the days of Bobby Robson, pushing Champions League football, and he got sacked, didn't he, when they finished it up there, 5th, 6th. So it's incredible really how bad they've been recently.
Definitely, and I think you sort of would have picked out a home game against West Brom as maybe potentially, not easy, but maybe a game that they could be able to stop the rot. But West Brom, they've been great of late. West Brom, 7 points out of 9 in their recent games. They went to Palace, won there, drew at home with Liverpool, and then last time out they went to Old Trafford and won at Manchester United, which fantastic result from them. United weren't at their best in that game, but all season long United had one of the best home records in the league, and to go there, not concede as well, brilliant from them. The goal, it was fortunate the way the goal came about, but it's hard to say that West Brom, didn't deserve anything out of the game. United weren't at their best, and certainly the goal, you look back on it, Chris Brunt trying to fire it towards one corner, it hits Olsen, his teammate, in the wall, and then cannons into the other top corner. So nothing De Gea could do about it in the goal. But like I say, 7 points out of 9 from those recent games, and clean sheets in every single one as well, which is sort of how Pulis started at West Brom, didn't he? He had all those clean sheets, but then they went on that poor run of form, back in danger. But this recent run, 7 out of 9, sort of, they look pretty safe now, and it looks like it'll be another season of Premier League football next season for them.
Yeah, you mentioned the games they've had, as you mentioned, United winning Liverpool away. They've had a tough run of form. It's pretty fortunate they are safe at this stage of the season, because they play Chelsea and Arsenal in the next 2. Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, and Chelsea obviously won the league. That's done and dusted. But Arsenal at that stage, you fancy they come off the back of a game against United, so they'll be wanting to finish in second above Manchester City. So that's a tough game of season. You wouldn't really fancy them to get anything out of those last 2 games. So if they had gone into, lost against Liverpool, lost against United, I'm not saying they would have been dragged down, but they'd have been a lot closer. Sitting in 13th at the moment, if they can finish in and around that, I think it's another good season. Is it built for next season? Got some good players. Interesting to see what happens with Berahino in the summer. I've been a lot of talk about that, but I think Pulis can add here and there. Then obviously they can have another season, another good season.
Yeah, I think if you look at this fixture, sort of maybe about 4 months ago, Newcastle home to West Brom, you say, well, Newcastle definitely favourites for that one, but the way it's going at the moment, you probably have to say West Brom are favourites. Who do you think is going to win?
I think West Brom are favourites, yeah, but I think Newcastle will just... I think, to be honest, I think it's going to be a ball draw. I think it'll be 0-0. I think Newcastle will get a point in that losing run. I think it will be last on Matchday in quite a poor game, so I'm going to go 0-0.
0-0. I'm going to go for a draw as well, but I think there'll be a few more goals than that. I think, Newcastle, 9 defeats in a row, surely they can't go that bad, and West Brom, like you said, that they probably are pretty safe now. It would take a really sort of drastic change around and one team to really shoot up and them to plummet for them to fall down. So I think West Brom, they're pretty safe, but Newcastle, I think they should be able to get a point out of this one. I'm going to go 2-2. So both picking draws in this one. Thanks for watching.